Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing started, sharing our slides. If you all are here for the May 21st, 2026 Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee, you are in the right spot. We are recording this evening for the benefit of the public. Staff typically get the recording posted to our website within 1 week.
Hey, Erin.
Yes.
Elizabeth says she's getting a message that says we are waiting for the host.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Erin, I wonder if she's like, if there was like an outdated link, because remember this invite was really funky.
Yeah, I'm gonna text her the right link.
It took me a sec to find it, but that could be operator error.
Yeah, I went to the wrong link too. Had the
Okay, it's not just me.
Okay, got it. All right, I'm just gonna read this slide really quick, and then I will get her that right link unless Rusty's able to support and grab that link and send it over to her
Let
in the
me
chat.
email that to her.
Great, thank you. All
Mhm.
right, so this evening we do have space on the agenda for public comment. We have two points. Only the committee chair can recognize a public attendee. And when we get to that point of the agenda, if you're interested in providing public comment, you can raise your hand. And I think that wraps us up for our intro slides. Rusty, thanks for helping with those logistics.
You're welcome. I am experiencing technical difficulty, but I think I'm getting there. Okay, the link is sent via email.
Hey everyone.
Hi,
Hello.
welcome, Elizabeth. I knew that we might have some challenges with this meeting invite being a little off kilter from our regular link. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. I just wanted to let you know that we've done the intro slides and we can kick off with roll call and then I can hand it over to you if you're ready.
Okay, great.
Okay, so first up is Elizabeth Teagan,
Here.
Sandra Smith,
here.
Brian St. John,
Here.
Rusty Davis,
Here.
Christy Dykink,
Here.
Leslie Albert,
Here.
Jennifer Hamilman,
Here.
Rich McConaughey,
Here.
Vinod Singh,
Present.
and Ashwin Naharaja is out this evening. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome everyone. We have a fairly short agenda, but a very meaty topic today of rate discussions, and it looks like we have quite a few people that are joining from the public and from the industry as well. So with that, we can start with GRAC Communications. Anything, Erin, that we need to communicate out?
Yeah, I had a couple of items this evening. First up being, since we're speaking of Zoom and technical difficulties, the county's actually decided to step away from the Zoom platform altogether. So we will be transitioning this committee over to Teams. I don't have a firm plan for that yet. They just made the announcement, but just a heads up that that's going to be happening. I think we have to be transitioned by the end of this calendar year. So I'll make sure we provide some clear instructions. I'm hoping maybe we could just make a clean break in the new year if they'll give us the next 6 months. But if not, more to come on that. I also wanted to let you know that Sarah on my team sent out an updated survey for the tours. We just didn't have a day that had critical mass for July. I think at the most we had like 5 individuals that could come. So we added a few more dates. So if you get an opportunity, I think she asked for that new survey to be completed by the end of this month. We'll take a look at it, and we may go with one of the original dates, but we were really trying to lean towards getting critical mass with everybody in attendance. And let's see if I had anything else. Oh, just a primer that June, we have a lot on the agenda, but I think it's all pretty quick order. First will be the Hillsborough Garbage Disposal Certificate Review. You'll get a staff report for that, and I'll do just a verbal update. For the franchise renewal, I have been doing a lot of digging just to see what GRAC's role versus the board's role is in renewing Recology's franchise. So I'll talk through just the different roles and responsibilities. We're lucky, they're actually just laid out in county code. So I'll walk you all through that. And then Kate is going to come from our education and outreach team and really highlight a lot of the work that we do through our IGAs for our city partners and for unincorporated attendees. So that'll be, I think, a nice light topic after all of the intensity of rates and everything that we've been going through the last couple months. Other than that, those are all the updates I have this evening.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Erin. I'll turn it over to Rusty for any recycling program or waste and recycling program updates.
Yeah, so at the county, we've been busy with our staffing. We just have extended an offer, and it was accepted for a program coordinator, community and outreach for contamination reduction. So she'll be starting in the beginning of June 8th, and that'll be part of our RMA efforts. And then we're backfilling the compliance and operations supervisor, and we hope to have an offer out early next week for that. So it's been business as usual, but those have been 2 highlights recently. So we're just about fully staffed again and ready to keep going.
That's great news. I'm sure Erin's very much looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm sure she is. Yes.
Great. All right. Anything from the committee that you guys want to share? Okay. Then we can open it up. If there's anyone in the public attendees who would like to speak, we can give you a 2-minute opportunity.
Hi, Elizabeth. We do have a couple individuals who reached out to me in advance wanting to speak tonight. I see Rich Weitzel's hand go up first, so I'll go ahead and promote him so he can speak.
Hi, Rich.
Hello, am I working?
You are.
All
You
right.
are.
Well, good evening. My name is Rich Weitzel, and I'm the president and co-owner of SWATCO Sanitary Service. As most of you know, SWATCO's Washington County regulated customer base is 100% rural and ranges from Dixie Mountain Road near Skyline to Timber to the border of Columbia County on the Vernonia Highway. This vast area is approximately 40% of the land mass of Washington County, but contains only about 4% of the total customer base of the county. SWATCO supports the rates proposed by staff, including the adjustment for rural residential customers. I believe attachment A requires a minor mathematical correction to reflect the intended rate increase. Despite the extremely long distances between customers required to serve a relatively small number of customers, SWATCO has provided this service for nearly 50 years while maintaining excellent cost-competitive service for our rural customers. While I have time, I'd like to point out some continuing cost pressures that will affect costs. As we all know, the cost of fuel right now is extremely high. The cost of fuel for SWATCO in April was 55% higher than a year ago in April. For SWATCO, the 55% increase in fuel cost is within a few dollars of the increase in revenue SWATCO received due to the proposed rate increase. While we are all praying that the current war in the Persian Gulf will be resolved soon and fuel prices can return to more normal costs, there is nothing certain about that at this time. Other less severe price increases that have happened include a new $25 per ton fee at Glass for Glass, processing curbside glass haulers collect on route. This represents around 30% of the brand new revenue the haulers are receiving from CAA for glass collection. Other smaller new costs include cyber and pollution policies required by the new administrative rules recently approved. Inflationary pressure on all goods and services, including disposal, will continue to put pressure on rates. Again, SWATCO supports this very necessary proposed rate increase, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Anyone from the committee have any questions for Richard? Richard, I have one question for you. What percentage of your overall cost is your fuel? If I remember correctly, Aaron, in the last month's meeting, for the entire system, when we look at across everyone, it's about 2% of the overall cost. Does that sound right?
2 to 3% historically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, ours is a little bit higher because we're rural. So if I remember right, it's around 4%. I don't have the numbers in front of me, unfortunately, but I think it's around 4%.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
any other questions?
It's not a question, but it's a comment. Also, there's been conversation about the glass producers feel like they're paying too much, and there might be potential that support that CAA has been paying could go away. It's all conversation right now, but that's something else to consider. So that's a really big swing for glass recycling costs.
Thanks, Vinod. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Aaron, have any other hands gone up?
I muted myself. Just give me one moment and I'll make the switch. We have Carrie McCullough with Walker Garbage. I'm going to go ahead and promote her to panelist.
All right, Carrie, you should be able to speak.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, members of GRAC. My name is Carrie Walker McCullough. My family has owned and operated Walker Garbage Service, serving unincorporated Washington County since 1948. But today I am here speaking for all the members of the Washington County Haulers Association. And all of our members are presenting this testimony in support of the solid waste rate proposed in the staff report. So who are we? We are made up of 8 certificated haulers: Evergreen Disposal and Recycling, Garbarino Disposal Service, Hillsborough Garbage Disposal, Pride Disposal Company, Republic Services, WM, Walker Garbage Service, and Washington County Dropbox. And the majority of us are family-owned and operated businesses, which is a point of pride in our industry. And we all work cooperatively with county staff to provide modern and efficient waste collection services that include garbage, recycling, and organics at a reasonable rate. And through the certificate system, the county regulates all of our haulers, all of our services, all of our rates, and the system ensures that no matter where a person lives, urban or rural, that everyone pays the same rate and gets the same quality of service. And we proudly partner with Washington County to provide equitable, affordable, and environmentally responsible operations. And we think this has been demonstrated through ice storms and smoke and fire and all kinds of natural disasters here lately. And as you know, we are highly regulated by the county, and each year we engage in a robust rate review process, which we enthusiastically support as we think it's very important for the integrity of our certificated franchise system. And we appreciate the work of the county staff, their consultants, the GRAC, in administering a transparent and annual review process that has long helped balance affordability, service reliability, and system sustainability. And we totally get it that there are big concerns about affordability and the cumulative impact of cost increases on our residents and our businesses. And our members, we live in our communities and we share these same concerns. Our customers are our neighbors. At the same time, approval of needed rate adjustments avoids accruing greater cost pressure onto future rate cycles and avoids placing additional strain on the collection system's financial sustainability. So we ask that you recommend that the board support the proposed rate adjustments as presented by county staff. And we look forward to working further with you in the future. We all appreciate the opportunity to service our Washington County community. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Does anyone have any questions for Carrie? It doesn't look like it.
Okay,
Thanks, Carrie.
thank you.
Aaron, do we have others who would like to speak? You're muted.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands, so I think we can move forward.
Okay, so we can move into the rate review.
Great. Sorry, I'm just doing some logistics here. Rusty's actually
Okay.
going to drive the slideshow for me this evening, so I can refer to my various notes and spreadsheets. So I'll give him a second to get set up. While that's happening, I just wanted to let you know that I had lots of last minute changes. So for the benefit of the public, the most current GRAC materials are posted on our website. I made some updates as late as this afternoon, such as that small percentage difference in the rural rates, also a couple other minor updates. So thanks to everybody who checked my math and got back to us. Just a unique cycle. The county's doing a lot of work right now to get ourselves into ADA compliance. So if individuals are joining us needing interpretation services or using a reading device, all of our documentations are clear and meeting those standards. And yeah, so just a change in process and left me a little bit scrambling and not getting to quite the attention of detail I'd like to be at. But with that, I think Rusty's sharing the screen and I will go ahead and get us kicked off. I am Erin Stein. I'm the Senior Policy Coordinator for Washington County. Rusty, you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all for letting me present the 2025 rate review findings. It's this committee's responsibility to hear the findings and determine whether staff followed the defined process in order to provide a thorough report to the board. Staff develop rate adjustment recommendations to carry forward to your board, and it is the will of the board to determine if those adjustments are necessary. While the mechanics of the rate review process and how adjustments are calculated is defined, we really want this committee to make it an informed decision. I'm joined this evening with representatives from Marina and Company, and at the end of the presentation tonight, we're available to answer any questions. And with that, I'm going to go through our agenda. We're going to kick things off this evening. I'll just give a little rate review background. I will talk about the county's authority to set collection rates for unincorporated Washington County. I'm going to touch on the key considerations for the rate setting process. I will talk about the county's specific rate review process, and that includes the cost of service model, which we use. After we've gone over those topics, I'm going to dig into the actual 2025 rate review findings and make our recommendations for what it takes to return our system to return on revenue to 10%. Staff also conducted an urban and rural service rate assessment, which has influenced this year's rate recommendation. I'll touch on that. We need to talk about the regional impacts here in Oregon for medical waste and the pressure on rates, some closures and some upgrades have had. We will then dig into the reduced rate program, and I'll round out talking about some recycling system impacts. And then finally, I will go forward and do a listing of all of our formal adjustments that we're recommending. You can go ahead and advance the slide, Rusty. Okay, so as mentioned, we do conduct our rate review annually. It happens each spring. The goal of conducting an annual analysis is to really ensure that our community members are charged reasonable, fair, and just rates, and are provided the essential garbage and recycling collection services they need. We do an in-depth review of financial and programmatic data, and that information is supplied by each of our certificate holders. The process is facilitated by our CPA firm, Marina & Company. They look for anomalies in the reported information. They make recommendations as to the alignment of the reports, making sure supporting documentation is provided. They'll support us with looks at year-over-year trends and also highlight anything that they're seeing out in the industry. Staff also do a deep dive, and through that, we develop a staff report. We come to this committee each May to make recommendations. Our desired outcome this evening is for this committee to make a recommendation to move forward to your board. We have a work session scheduled for June 9th, and we would like to see final adoption of any rate adjustments happen at the regular board meeting on June 23rd. Next slide. So pursuant to Washington, next slide, Rusty, sorry. There we go. Pursuant to Washington County Code 8.04.330A, the annual rate review process ensures that any garbage and recycling collection rate adjustments, either increases or decreases, are just, fair, reasonable, and sufficient to provide proper service to the public. We also allow for a reasonable return for our certificate holders or service providers. There's key considerations to be made when you're setting rates. The system that the county has adopted to manage the rate review process draws from regional best practices in rate setting in a franchise environment. Staff's approach is to take a look back at the prior year's system level expenses and the revenue earned, and we determine what adjustments are needed to return all three major lines of service to a 10% ROR, or return on revenue. When I speak about our major lines of service, I'm talking about either can cart service or residential, container service, commonly known as commercial, and then we also have drop box, compactor, and occasional container service. Other considerations when adjusting rates is determining if a new service offering is planned or if there are any outside forces that are egregiously impacting our collection service and our service provider's ability to provide that service. In such instances, staff will make additional recommendations to address those issues specifically. It's important to keep in mind that with a system level approach, all certificate holders' performance impacts the final results of the review. Those that operate more prudently offset those whose expenses outpace their revenue. The garbage and recycling collection companies are not guaranteed a specific return on revenue based on their individual performance. Staff and the CPAs assess the entire composite, and that's how we make our recommendation to move forward to the board. We can go to the next slide. I think one more, Rusty. It should be titled Rate Setting. There we go. So as mentioned, the county has developed a process for the rate review, and it draws on the regional best practices. Oh, my apologies. I think I was reading my notes from the wrong slide. I skipped ahead. So I've already covered the rate setting best practice. I think we actually need to go back a slide to,
Aaron, I'm having some trouble. The slides are advancing on their own, so let
Oh.
me stop sharing and reshare.
okay.
Sorry about that, everybody. Um, uh, are you at the rate setting here? Can you see that?
Yeah, we just wrapped up the rate setting in the
Okay,
notes
how's
there.
this?
So now
Great.
we will be going on to the annual rate review slide. So it'll say county annual rate
Yeah.
review. There we
Can
go.
you see that?
Perfect. That's
Okay.
great. Okay. Each year, the certificated collection companies are required to participate in the rate review process. Those companies that make up the top 75% of the system's revenue are subject to site visits, which are either conducted virtually or in person. All certificate holders that require a deeper dive if we're seeing any anomalies or if we need to lean into a specific subject will receive additional questioning. And that's just a process that we do each March and April to true up, and we will make adjustments as determined to be agreeable between the CPAs and each specific hauler. What that lands us on is a final ROR. Things that we're looking at when we're doing these reviews, we're looking at all the direct costs. So these are the expenses that each company can easily connect or trace to specific products or lines of service. And then we also look at indirect costs. So those are the shared costs. If you think about maybe corporate overhead or office space, equipment that could be used over multiple jurisdictions. Each hauler receives the same financial and programmatic review. And in the end, each hauler's results carry equal weight when we calculate the composite outcome for the total cost and return on revenue. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So we use a cost of service model, and I just wanted to note that I did update the graph on this slide. I think I added a layer so you could see where the return on revenues are actually trending. So the red line is our target return on revenue. So that's been 10% since really 2009. And the bar graphs represent how we're coming in with our return on revenue. So you can see through the 20 teens, we had really strong return on revenues, and we really didn't do a lot of rate adjustments. Post-COVID, the last few years, we've had really low returns across all lines of service. So just highlighting that I updated the slide before I dig into the content here. So with a return on revenue methodology, which is a standard approach for establishing appropriate profit margins in a regulated solid waste system, this methodology is used for areas of business that don't require significant capital expenditures or investments. If the prior year's return on revenue is more or less than the target, which the board had identified as 10%, then the financial performance of each individual line of service, so that can cart, commercial, or drop box, will be looked at further, and then we determine what adjustments need to be made, and we'll determine if there was under or over performance. The ultimate goal is to set uniform collection rates that do provide revenue enough to cover allowable collection costs plus a profit margin for the certificate holders. And I just wanted to note that we do variable rates here in Washington County. So we have a different set of rates for urban customers versus rural customers. In 2025, I did track to see the returns on revenues, and we had just slight improvement over last year. 2 of our 8 haulers had returns below 0%. 4 of the 8 had returns between 0 and 10%, and only 2 haulers had returns over 10%. We can go to the next slide. All right, so this is our actual rate review findings slide. Overall, we found that the system did have a revenue increase prior to above and beyond 2024. So our total system revenue for 2025 was $47,802,521. The net income spread across all 8 haulers was $3,049,762 for a total return on revenue of 6.38%. When we look at the individual lines of service, residential came in at 6.82%, commercial at 5.28%, and Dropbox at 5.92%. Overall, the revenue increased in total about $2.5 million or 5.6%. But unfortunately, we saw, as alluded to by our haulers this evening, operating costs also increased at almost just as an aggressive pace. So we saw direct operational costs increase year over year by $1.7 million or about 4.7%. And our indirect cost increased about $108,000 or 1.7%. Some of the causes identified by our rate consultants included increased disposal cost, vehicle repairs, and depreciation of large equipment investments like vehicles. Indirect costs also increased this year, and drivers of that were bad debt write-offs and some small increases in corporate overhead. We can go to the next slide. So when we talk about balancing the return on revenue, each year our accountants do a calculation to determine how much the system underperformed the prior year if we want to reset to 10%. And unfortunately, this was one of those years where all 3 of our major service areas underperformed. We underperformed by about $1.92 million. And so when we're looking at customer adjustments on the practical level, we would want to raise residential or the can cart rates by 3.5%. That would net us about $1.1 million. For commercial, an increase of 5.2% or about $520,000. And for Dropbox and Compactor, a 4.5% increase or about $294,000. What that means to the average household, if you're an urban customer, you would see your 32-gallon can cart rate increase about $1.07 per month. The rate would be $31.68 plus the $2 recycling surcharge. If you're a commercial customer, and had a 4-yard container on site, you would see your bill increase about $16 a month. the rate would be $297.02 plus the 4% recycling surcharge. And if you ordered a drop box and you had a 10-yard box delivered, you would see about an $8.28 per haul increase. That works out to be $1.90 or $192.39. I just wanted to note that these are not the only adjustments that staff are going to be recommending this evening. I'm going to dig into specifics on the next slides. This is just the total amount of revenue to do our baseline calculation to return these three lines of service to the 10% return on revenue. We can go to the next slide. So your board directed staff at the June 17th, 2025 meeting to conduct an assessment and determine whether there were cost of service inequities between urban and rural service areas. And staff did conduct an assessment using watershed level data, as shown in attachment B to the staff report this evening. Staff's approach included reviewing historical rate changes and considering service offerings which lead to operational changes. Additionally, staff employed Marina and Company to conduct a route level analysis for the 6 haulers operating in rural service areas. The focus of that assessment was on can cart collection, which accounts for the majority of the system cost. That information can be found in attachment C to the staff report this evening. A key finding of that assessment was that the projected cost to add food scraps collection to urban yard debris service was not as high as expected. Actually, it had no net result. The additional 1.93% increase that was applied to urban customers only in 2023 was recommended by staff to cover anticipated costs associated with those additional set outs and stops. And unfortunately, those just did not materialize. After our assessment and staff's recommendation that the rural residential collection rates should receive the same rate adjustment plus a small inflationary increase for a total of 2.1%. This would be a one-time additional increase and would bring balance back to the can cart collection service rates. This adjustment in total, we would take the 3.5% rate increase recommended on the prior slide and then add the 2.1 for a total increase in rural can cart collection of 5.6%. Next slide. Rusty, I think one more medical waste. Are you freezing?
Yeah, that's what's showing on my screen. Something's off. Can you see medical waste yet?
No, not yet.
What slide are you on?
I'm still seeing the servers. So the last slide, the service rate slide.
Okay, that's weird because of advanced to medical waste.
It sounds like your connection might be a bit choppy, so maybe that's it.
Yeah, it could be.
It's there now. Whoops, I lost it. There it is.
There it
Okay.
is. Thanks everybody for bearing with us this evening. Okay. So medical waste, those requiring medical waste collection services do not have the opportunity to select their own service provider due to our franchise system. Disposal outlets available to haulers have changed greatly in the past 18 months. So while we've had stability in the service providers that are providing the service, the actual end markets where those materials go has shifted. I'm going to talk about each of our medical waste service providers, and then I'm going to get into a couple of the things that have been the biggest cost drivers. So first of all, Stericycle they are a WM company. They provide service to Providence St. Vincent here in Washington County and a number of other medical businesses. So think doctor's offices, dental offices, even sheriff's offices that need to get rid of things like sharps or medical waste. Stericycle uses its Morton facility as a transfer station. This is actually a long-established facility in Lewis County, Washington. Then we also have Trilogy. Trilogy operates out of Clackamas County. And they also provide like services to Stericycle just in Washington County unincorporated. They don't have any major hospital accounts. St. Vincent's is our only hospital in unincorporated. In 2025, Trilogy actually upgraded their Clackamas County facility by adding new autoclave capabilities. And that was in part due to some major capital improvements at that location. I think our biggest challenge for medical waste was that Covanta was the only West Coast incinerator accepting medical waste, and they closed their doors actually at the end of December of 2024. So what does this mean practically for our two service providers? Instead of having a local incinerator, those materials have gone from being shipped 40 miles to at a minimum of several hundred miles and up to several thousand miles. And so as you can imagine, that has added a lot of transportation cost for those materials. The unfortunate thing about incinerators is they're heavily regulated, and they can set processing limits, and they can have capacity variations. So sometimes that means our service providers can't even use the next closest incinerator to manage this waste. So the results of our assessment, and just for some historical context, for years, our medical collection weights have been seeing returns well above 50% return on revenue. So the rates were set, they were functioning very well. We haven't made any adjustments in over a decade. And unfortunately, our results from last year swung in the complete opposite direction. So when we took the average of both of those service providers' return on revenues, we got 12.38%. And we're in the unfortunate position that we do need to make a recommendation of a rate increase of about 24.5%. I want to underscore that we are not alone in unincorporated in feeling this. Actually, unincorporated has just a small number of medical waste companies or who need this service. And across the region, rates are going up. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So our reduced rate program is in year 3. When we passed the reduced rate program, we did that with the understanding that while individuals on that program do receive a reduced rate for those services, the full system has to bear the cost. So that means the average rate payer pays a little bit more in their monthly bill. So these individuals who really need this program and service can get the reduced rate. What we found in our 3rd year of operating, that we had 832 program approvals in 7 of our certificate areas. That was great. We connected all of those new households with vital programmatic assistance. We continue to see year-over-year growth. In total, we had about 1,300 households receiving that assistance in 2025. It is a little hard to calculate the actual cost because individuals that are on this program come on and go off. So I just want to note that I did include some cost estimates in this table here, but it's just a point in time snapshot. I will note that if you're looking at the graph, The yellow line is what we projected our total system cost to be by the time we hit year 4 of the program. That would be around $600,000 in downward pressure on our rates each year. We don't have a program cap. We did model this anticipating we would have about 2,000 households on the program. I don't think we will reach that number. I think we might actually be leveling off just based on what I'm seeing so far this year. But just a note that that's what that yellow line is. Our green line just connects the dot from year 1 to what we thought we would be paying in year 3, right around $400,000. That orange line is actually the calculation that Marina did for us if we were due an actual system estimate. And a couple of things have occurred since we started the program. First, we've had successive year-over-year rate increases. And then last year, we also increased the gross receipt fee. And so that had additional pressure on the rate that wasn't included in our model back in 2020. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, recycling, collection, and disposal conditions. First up, I wanted to just do some modeling for the Recycling Modernization Act. That actually went into effect on July 1st. And we were just really excited for the results that we found just in the first 6 months. There are several key areas of the Recycling Modernization Act, or RMA, that support the health of our recycling system. CAA, who's our producer responsibility organization, is funding several different initiatives supporting material processing facilities, the MRFs, and upgrading technology, and their required use of responsible end markets. And also, even though Vinod mentioned that our glass reimbursement could be going away, CAA had agreed to provide us with glass reimbursement for on-route collection in support of them meeting their convenience standards. As I'm looking at this table, I just want to walk you through it. So we do have a $2 a month recycling surcharge if you are a can cart customer, or if you are a commercial customer or doing containerized waste, you have a 4% fee. This recycling surcharge revenue in this top line is showing the year-over-year growth. And we did see a 3.4% increase in that revenue. When years are really good, you will actually see revenue growth for recyclable material sales. And ideally, as RMA continues, this area will continue to see growth. Overall, we saw a 12.2% increase year over year. And then I wanted to take a look at our direct operating cost. So this is everything. This is garbage, recycling, and composting. But our direct operating cost for 2024 were about 7.5 million. And for 2025, we came in closer to 7 million. So we actually saw a 6.6% decrease. And of that, when we pull out the recycling processing cost, we saw a significant reduction. So we went from $1.7 million in 2024 down to just under $1 million in 2025. So a 45.4% decrease. Staff did maintain the recommendation to leave the recycling surcharge in place for one more rate cycle, but we'd really like to be able to return next year. If these costs continue to go down, we could make that recommendation to either remove that recycling surcharge or just potentially take whatever portion is left and roll that into the rates. I have one other item here. Sorry, got to go to a second page of notes. So also on here, which is related to recycling, is our refrigerant containing devices. So refrigerant containing devices, if you think of refrigerators, and air conditioners. Those materials can be recycled, but they do require extra processing because you have to responsibly manage the coolants that are involved in processing. We received multiple submissions from haulers for the actual cost of providing that service. And we established that the current rate that we had in place, which was around $26, was too low. It actually wasn't even coming close to covering the actual disposal rate paid. So staff did some calculations, and we have recommended a one-time rate adjustment to $42.50 per item. We do understand it is a big jump, and with bulky waste collection, we don't guarantee that every line item there has full cost recovery. Certainly, that would be impossible. But this was one area that really stood out that, if it's costing you almost $45 to self-haul that to a local facility, and the haulers have to pay that same fee, we wanted to true that up a bit. Okay, we can go on to my final slide this evening. So the overall rate review findings this year come with a lot of recommendations. I'm going to start on the left-hand side of the slide and talk about our residential rate adjustments, or the CAN cart service. I am recommending a 3.5% increase to urban CAN cart service. I'm recommending an additional 5.6% increase for rural CAN cart service. The one-time adjustment for refrigerant containing devices to a rate of $42.50. In the center here, I'm recommending a 4.5% increase for Dropbox, compactor, and occasional container adjustments. And over on the right-hand side, our commercial sector for the container service, I am looking at a 5.2% rate increase across the board. And for medical waste, a 24.9% rate increase. And with that, staff recommends that the Washington County Garbage and Recycling Committee favorably recommend to the Washington County Board of Commissioners the following rate adjustments as shown in Attachment A to be effective on August 1st of 2026. Rusty, you can stop sharing if you'd like, and I'm happy to open up the floor to questions, and just keeping in mind that we also do have our rate consultants, and I'm happy to bring them into this space too, if we need to.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. Good evening. Two quick questions. I'm still trying to understand the rate variance, because I heard some basically didn't make any money, some made between 0 and 10%, and a couple made over 10%, correct? So if it's not really fuel, because it sounds like, what I heard is fuel is affecting everyone equally, how did some haulers have a great year and others had a terrible year? I don't understand this.
Yeah, it depends on tons of different things. But for examples, if you think about purchasing a new garbage truck, those used to cost $500,000. Now they're closer to $1 million. And so once they receive those pieces of equipment, that starts to depreciate. And so that all of that cost hits the books. It is spread out over 7 years. But when you're talking about those big ticket items, and the total return for the entire system, overall 8 haulers, is only $3 million, and they have to make investments to keep their fleet safe and running. Those types of investments, people might update other parts of their equipment, labor costs, benefits, those are all always going up. It really does vary by hauler, by year, where those returns land. We've definitely seen the lowest the last few years. It's dipped since 2022, where we're seeing everybody really skewed low. It was nice to see us bounce back a bit. but yeah,
Okay.
it's challenging. And then we take an average. So we're not adjusting each back to 10%. We take that full average of the 8 to get that total return on revenue.
My other quick question was, I heard you say there was something happened with some bad debt write-off. I don't understand why, if a company makes a bad investment, that the county basically gets to help them. It almost feels like we're bailing them out. Is that a fair analogy or not?
So bad debt is, I might call on Craig to answer this, but my understanding is it also includes customer accounts that are unpaid. So if they've had to go to collections, that's the majority of what we would see in bad debt. But I certainly, I'll promote Craig just in case he
I
wants to
can
correct me.
verify that that is accurate as a CPA. That would be in there. Out of curiosity, how much, I mean, obviously economically, a lot of people are struggling right now. I'd be curious to know how much bad debt has gone up for the haulers. Because our rates have also gone up the residential rates have gone up about 30% over the last 5 years when you look at it cumulatively. Go
Hi,
ahead,
Craig.
This is Craig. Yeah, Brian, this is a great question. This is something I kind of key in on for the same kind of reasons every year. Same, Elizabeth, like, is this a trend? Are there more customers that aren't paying off, are they defaulting on their payments? And so every year we'll ask kind of that same question, like, what makes up this balance? Because it is a bit obscure. And so the answer we typically get are, these are people that are moving out. So these are usually their last payment. If they're coming out, they fail to pay their last one, they move on to another location. So a lot of times it's those move outs. So if it's an apartment or something like that gets built individually, or it's a house, and they move out and don't get the bill, or they, fail to pay that last payment. Another portion of it is also the one-time customers, such as Dropbox. So Dropbox tends to be has a higher frequency of defaults or the write-offs, because that's a one-time service. You get it, they come pick it up, and then you either default on that last piece of that payment, or the bill that comes in. So these aren't routine customers that just fail to pay their thing. These are usually one-offs. It's where the hauler doesn't have a contact with that customer anymore, and that customer either leaves or isn't able to get contacted or reached to follow up on. So but it typically is, it's a failure to pay their bill. So they performed the service for the month, they made those collections, they did what they needed to do, and then they don't collect on that revenue. So it's just shown as like an expense when it should be technically a reduction of revenue. So yeah, does that help? Cool.
Thanks, Craig. Brian, does that help you?
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. I'm good on that.
Okay. Aaron, has there ever been consideration in the past of having Dropbox customers pay in advance for that, or is that based on how much you actually put into the Dropbox? Is it?
Yeah, so we actually do allow haulers to take a deposit, and that's prescribed in the administrative rules. So yes, they can opt to capture some of that up front. Each individual's operations are a bit different. I think the most challenging part is you can give a quote for the delivery, the mileage, all of the labor, but the actual disposal varies so greatly and depends on your material. So if you're hauling wet waste, that costs a lot more than if you're hauling construction debris, and yard debris being the least expensive. So, they can't really project what that's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions or discussion items? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I'll go. Sort of like a discussion/question. I've been reviewing all of these documents, thinking about this. It feels like the whole system is extremely complex. You know, if I think of it as like a river, you've got the metro stuff and the tipping fees, and they have certain costs that the haulers have to pay, and then the haulers are spending more money with the fuel, and they got to buy more trucks that are expensive, and then they got bad debt that isn't being paid by the residents. It feels like the whole system is in need of a major overhaul. Am I missing something here, Aaron? I mean, please help me if I'm, it feels like we're working within a framework that is just something that is, we're spiraling in a bad way, that it just, rates are just going to keep going up and up and up and up. And I I'm flummoxed.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We have a franchise system. So each, that is a geographic monopoly, really. Each hauler gets that service area. It's challenging to set rates when you have so much variability, right? To the routes they're traveling, to the customer base, between businesses. Some might have more of a commercial mix, some might have more of a rural mix. So really what we're doing is regulating to the lowest common threshold. I think if you're in a contract environment, you have a lot more control, right? You set performance standards. You can build in things like CPI adjustment clauses. And there's just a lot of other considerations. And we don't have that ability here at Washington County. We're locked into our franchise system and the model that we as rate setters, and we meet throughout the year to talk about our challenges, is, you know, how do you help out? And the reality is we have had a lot of growth, particularly in Washington County. And so with more growth and increased customers, yes, you get the revenue, but then you also get the additional strain and everything else. And you can see that we did have a period with really good rate stability. So what economic conditions have changed since 2020? Well, we had a pandemic, and then we're coming out of that. So I just think there's a lot of pressures that we didn't see 10 years ago applying the downward pressure on the rates. How we solve for that, I don't have an answer. I just know with the system that we have adopted in the state of Oregon, the franchise system, this is the best methodology, and that's why the annual review is so important, right? So we're trying to stay ahead with these micro adjustments, so we don't not look at something for a period of 3 to 5 years and then say, guess what, you're getting hit with a 17% or a 20% rate increase on your household bill. But yeah, I think even just the success of our reduced rate program is indicative of the challenges that our community faces in getting access to service. There's a need, and there's a variety of needs. So I don't have a silver bullet. I can just tell you within the framework that we're working in, we do our due diligence, and we're following the best practices.
Okay, can I just ask a quick, Rich, I saw your hand, but just to follow up. So all these individual little variables, you know, metros and haulers and the state and blah, blah, is everybody getting into the room at once trying to figure this out? Or is it just a bunch of little meetings where all the gears just keep spinning? And because I get it, Aaron, right? We're just one little thing in this whole clog of machinery type of thing. But it feels like we need to stick all the key players in a room, lock the door, and don't let them out till they figure out how to make the system overall better.
Yeah,
That's just my take.
we do get together regularly. We had a really great local government conference last fall. I have monthly meetings where I talk with the big local rate setters here in the Portland metro region, and we are meeting with our haulers on the regular as well. So this is always top of mind for us as a local government. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the public, but we're also being really mindful of the economics of it as well. So yes. We have locked ourselves in rooms, and we have really regular conversations.
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I was wondering for Aaron, is that an escape room you locked yourselves into?
That would add a whole new level of engagement, wouldn't it?
The part I wanted to just bring up, and maybe Rusty can share, if you still have that last slide on the PowerPoint, it provided kind of like a regional look at what the other jurisdictions, I think mostly were Oregon, largely metro, but I think there was some other yeah, I think it's like on the very last slide.
You'll probably have to unhide it, Rusty, because I think I hid it in the slide deck, maybe.
And I think those were I think Sandra had a question on that, but I think those were 2025 rates for all the jurisdictions, I believe, right?
Yeah, we go in every April and hit everybody's website and just see what the current rates are and pull them into that table. So we're all going through the rate setting process as local governments at the same time. We're all got our results. Everybody's returns are really landing about where we are. Clackamas County went last week to their Board of Commissioners. Yeah, we're all in the same boat regionally. I will say that we have the benefit in Washington County for unincorporated of being the largest jurisdiction. And so I think that lends to the fact that we do tend to be on the lower end of rates. We also do only have the 4% gross receipt fee. Almost all of the other jurisdictions have between a 5 and 8% fee. So we have been able to keep fees low and sustain our core services in ways that other jurisdictions can't. And it would be really great if we could roll that $2 recycling fee, either see it go away next year or roll it in. And I think we would really secure our place probably at the bottom for lowest rates.
Yeah, I like that idea of kind of seeing if that $2 can go away, and maybe when we get a full 12 months of the RMA, that may come out in the wash or be able to roll it into the rate and have maybe some decrease a year from now, maybe, I don't know. But this seemed positive to me to see that we're kind of at the lower end of what other jurisdictions are paying, and I think that the part that comes back to the county for the program is a benefit. And I know some other jurisdictions also do it more like general fund rather than just doing like the solid waste programs. They put some of their almost like utility tax, I think, that kind of goes in funds. I'm not sure if it's police and fire or parks or some other services. So I just wanted to thanks for sharing that information.
Go ahead, Sandra.
I figured I would bring up my my emails that I had earlier this week regarding all of this, and I'm sure the haulers probably didn't read them, but because they didn't have access. But I had submitted my thoughts and concerns regarding the residential rate structure. I don't have a problem with the 10% thing. I just feel that in looking at the rate structure, the difference between of the rates per can size is not fair across the board. And I know there's like a base fee and all this. I did some calculations. I don't even know if I was anywhere near what you guys ever look at or not. But I mean, only $2.50 difference between a 20 gallon and 35 was my main problem with that. It seems like we're rewarding people to get a huge can and just waste as much garbage as possible. I don't know. Maybe that's not the way it is. But I don't know if there's anything we can do. Aaron, I do appreciate all the responses that you gave. I still just don't feel that the way this is done is not fair and equitable to everyone. So I was hoping that you said that the last time these rates were actually looked at was in 2018. I was hoping that maybe we can find a way to have these broken down and reviewed again to make it a little bit better, at least the way I see it. I don't know if everybody else agreed with me or if you had time to read my ramblings about that. Shoot, I forgot what else I was going to say about it. But I mean, the whole thing we brought up last year of the rural rates, bringing that up allowed everyone to review it, and we came to a conclusion that was favorable this year. And I hope that if we can do this with the residential rate structure, that will be as something that we can change as well.
Yeah, I will just say, Sandra, there are rate models out there that, for lack of a better word, reward those that use the smaller can, just assuming that they are really maximizing their recycling and yard debris service and can effectively use that smaller can size. I know that for us, the 32-gallon can cart is the most common cart in circulation. And how our rates were structured are, as I mentioned, based on weight studies. So it has been since 2018, since a can cart weight study has been conducted. They are expensive, and that's not something we readily have in our budget. I think we can work towards that. Several other local governments, when we were locked in a room last October, just decided, yeah, it's probably time to get one of those going, but that takes time. We have to get an RFP out and go through a contracting process and a joint contracting process at that. The base rate, just to really get down to it, with disposal only making up about 30% of the actual rate. If you think about whether you set your cart out or not, that truck still drives by your house every week. Whether your cart is full to the top and even has an extra bag on top, or is consistently underfilled, the can cart weight studies really use to take a system-wide average of the different container sizes, and then you build that in. And so this base rate is how you see that reflected. And that's why you see a huge jump from the 32-gallon to the 60-gallon, even up to the 50. That's really just to account for the disposal level variances. It doesn't cost base cost anymore to provide that service, right? The truck is still the same truck, making the same stop, same labor, all the stuff behind delivering the service. The only key variable between the container sizes there is one, the cost of the container, because that's an initial investment, and then the actual disposal cost.
When you look at the different rates for the different regions, I mean, you can see that there. I pointed that out, several different places like Clackamas, and I'm looking at this now. It looks like even Portland's got like $6 difference between the 20 and the 32. Tualatin also has a decent size. I mean, we should be doing the same thing. Ours is just $2.50. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, I don't know. If I just sit there and decide I'm going to vote no today, and hope that it gets the Washington County Board's attention that this is something that really needs to be done, maybe some action will be done.
Thanks, Sandra. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, I'm not trying to monopolize, so apologies, but I'm just going to say my cents here. I spent a lot of time reading the GRAC bylaws over the last week. We are the advisory committee to the County Board of Commissioners. We are supposed to do and advise, especially when I look specifically at 1.2, the impact of decisions that affect all users in the system, the residents, the haulers, everybody. I know Aaron and your staff and the other people, you guys always crush it every year. You do. You did a great job. But I'm looking outside of that bubble and saying the overall system's broken. So for me, I want to send a message to the board and say, as a member of your advisory committee board, I want you to be aware that I think something's broken overall. I know we got to maintain this and we got to maintain our garbage, and most likely they're going to vote for the rate increase, but I'm going to send a no vote, and I'm going to say my no vote is to send a message that we got to do something different, because I've been here 3 years now and it's just rinse and repeat. We got to raise the rates. Got to raise the rates. Got to raise the rates. I'm getting outside of this merry-go-round and I'm looking at the amusement park going, we got to fix something else here, guys. So I just want to make that statement and I'm done. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. I agree. It would be interesting to hear from the haulers what they're doing to try and reduce costs as well, whether it's use of AI, or anything else that would be helpful for me. And Aaron, I think in the last meeting you had said that Recycle Plus is not self-sustaining. That is essentially being funded through the other rates as well. And I can't recall, I think maybe you were going to bring some data on that, but I'd be curious to hear that and see if we should be raising the rates on the Recycle Plus so that other parts of the system are not funding that.
Yeah, Recycle Plus is a bit challenging because everything is a allocated cost to that program. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the results. So it's not subsidizing because we do back it out of our total cost for residential. So when we make the recommendation to increase the residential rates, we back out some of the cost. Oh, I'm in the wrong. Give me just a second. I'm in the programmatic data. I need to switch gears. I also just wanted to speak just generally about the committee. It doesn't require a no vote to make for staff, Rusty and I, to carry forward recommendations to the board. So acknowledging that something is broken, but also acknowledging that rates are necessary to provide this service, that's okay. So any recommendations you have as part of the vote, we will definitely carry those through the board. And they do carry water. The board does listen to those and internalize them. And so even if you had a formal recommendation, we can add that too. So just putting a pin in that, why I'm trying to get to my right spreadsheet here.
That's helpful. Thank you, Aaron.
You just took the,
Go ahead.
yeah, Aaron just took the wind out of my sails. I was going to say the same thing, is that we have the ability, as the advisory committee, to make recommendations. You know, you could, it doesn't require the no vote. We can, because rates are a necessary thing. Costs are going up the system. Yeah, there does need to be some adjustments, Brian. But we can make those recommendations and tell the board that, hey, we're voting in favor of rates this time, but we need a strong look at this. It's just like we did. The board last year directed us to do the urban versus rural rate. I mean, if we came back as GRAC with a recommendation saying, why don't we look at the Carcan weight issue? Let's look at things of that nature. It's something, like Aaron said, that the board does take that consideration very strongly. So I just, I was in agreement with Aaron. That's all I had.
Thanks, Russ. And just a point of clarification on that. If we have a yes, no vote, but can we bifurcate that? So I want to dig a little bit deeper into the medical piece. Because Aaron, if I heard you correctly, did you say for several years they had a 50% return on revenue?
Over 50% return on revenue, yes, on average. Last year, one had a strong return and the other one was not as strong. Kind of an indicator of some things changing. And then this year, yeah, both of them, unfortunately. And, there isn't really a way to fix it. When you talk about autoclaving or incinerating waste, that's completely out of our control. The collection is all that maintains in our control. And with medical waste, it's opposite. The disposal piece is probably 75% of the cost of managing that material. So it's a shift compared to our other sectors.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they've benefited of multiple years of 50% returns. Do we maybe not do a 24% increase this year and do a stepped increase over years? And considering the fact that they have had heavy returns.
Yeah, I would say different service providers. So Trilogy's only been operating for a couple of years, and Stericycle has been a longtime player, but accounts and contracts have changed. So there had been other medical waste service providers operating as early as 2023 in our system. So it just naming that the sector has had really strong concerns, but these two specific businesses, we're seeing some differences. Yeah, and unfortunately, the incinerator thing is like a nail in the coffin. But let me circle back to Recycle Plus if I can.
Okay.
So Recycle Plus does earn revenue. It earns about $70,000 in revenue a year. The challenging part is actually getting to the cost of service, because our cost of service is done through allocations. And we have some haulers that are providing that service en route on their actual recycling truck. And we have others who are sending out dedicated vehicles. So the dedicated vehicles, sure, it's easy to capture those actual costs. The majority of the service that's happening is on these shared trucks. And so when you look at their return, they actually have like a negative 78% return on revenue. So if we were to do a rate adjustment there, it would need to be very considerable to cover the full cost of service. But when we take that total amount of revenue compared to our $32 million system, the board decided that this was a value add to the community, and not that we're subsidizing it, but at the same time, we want it to continue to exist, and we want to continue for it to be affordable. So ultimately, it has been our process to just exclude it because we can't really get to a true cost of service based on the scale that it's at right now.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to diving deeper into the Recycle Plus in the September meeting. Thanks, Erin. Go ahead, Rusty.
I just wanted to mention on the medical waste piece that with that one facility shutting down, 40 miles away, the next closest one now is Nevada. And then the next closest to that is Texas. And I believe, don't quote me, but I thought there was one perhaps in Florida. So anyway, the transportation costs associated with the disposal have just skyrocketed. So that's part of the equation there.
Yeah, yep, I get that part. Is anything being done to try and bring another incinerator in?
Well, that's an EPA issue, and they're very hard. They're very, very strictly regulated because they take all sorts of hazardous waste. I will say that both of those service providers, what causes the most upward pressure on transportation rates is if they're only one way. So if they have no way to backhaul or offset transportation costs. And the situation that both of them were in most of last year was that they were dead hauling. So basically you get everything there and then those trucks still have to run back over the road. Both have indicated to us that they have made operational adjustments and they're working to get some contracts in place. So I think we will see a shift next year. I'm hoping this is a good, solid one-time adjustment, and then we'll just see how the conditions play out. I mean, yeah, it's tough. We do have actually haulers still in the attendee pool, though, if you wanted to talk, or if any of them wanted to maybe weigh in on some of the operational things they do to save money. I think I'd leave that up to you, Elizabeth, but
I'd definitely be interested in hearing that.
All right, we have some hands up. Should I go ahead and I saw Rich Weitzel with SWATCO's hand first, so I'll go ahead and allow him.
Aaron Vanad had a comment. He's been waiting.
Oh, sorry, I can't see everybody.
That's fine. I'll let Rich and others discuss this. What I'm hearing from like Brian is a frustration with the system And I think they're different issues. So the costs that have increased, whether it's fuel or labor or equipment, is they're bearing the weight of that, the people providing the service. So to say we don't want to approve of something isn't fixing the system. It's gonna just harm the system that's performing the service, to me. And if I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, I mean, I get that you're frustrated with it. It is a complicated system. Um, when Metro raises disposal fees, that goes through the system, and that's not something that Washington County or the haulers are doing. They have to pay that. So my caution is that don't punish people doing the job because you don't like the system, if that makes sense.
And to Vinod's point, yeah, with metro fees as an example, yeah, when they do go up, they are trickled down through the system, and that's something we as local governments within the region are trying to find a solution. How do we deal with this in an equitable way to the ones within the system that are impacted? Everyone, not from the customer to the collection companies to the processors. Yeah, so it's a system-wide thing that we are trying to address as local governments.
Okay, should we turn it over to Rich?
Yes, please.
So
Thanks for your patience.
hi everybody again. So got to remember I'm a garbage man, not an economist, but I do listen to Freakonomics a lot, so I know one thing about there's a thing called Baumel's cost disease. And the classic example that you get is the cost to go to a play on Broadway in 1985 was $25. The cost to buy a nice television in 1985 was $600. Now the cost to go to a Broadway play is $500. The cost to buy a nice TV is $300. So one went way up and the other went way down. Why is that? Televisions in 1985, every piece and part was handled by somebody making that TV. Televisions in 2026, no one touches a part of that TV. A Broadway play in 1985 is the same as a Broadway play in 2026. There's no difference. So the costs continue to go up on something that doesn't get productivity increases, and the costs go down on things that have productivity increases. Where does that come to us? In about 2005, most of the garbage cans were actually cans in Washington County. Haulers picked up those cans with their hands and arms and legs, dumped them into a back of a rear loader, hopped on the back of a rear loader with two guys, and drove to the next stop. Now, in 2026, actually since probably the late teens, it's automated. There was a huge productivity increase. If you look at the data that Marina has, you'll see that productivity increase over that time period from 2005 to 2020. So what's happened since 2020? There's no more productivity increase. The same equipment, the same fully automated equipment is picking up in 2020 that's picking up now. In that other time period, it was a low inflationary period and productivity increases were very, very rapidly going up. So that kept stable rates. Now productivity is flat until they come out with the driverless garbage trucks. Productivity is not going to jump again. So with productivity flat, high inflation, you get rate increases. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you. That was a good history lesson. Aaron, you're muted.
Shall we move on to the next person?
Sure.
All right. I saw Carrie Walker McCullough with Walker Garbage.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. I have to say, because you are talking about all my favorite subjects, This has been very interesting for me to sit in on. Very thoughtful considerations and good questions. But I just wanted to throw out a couple of things that have really placed pressure on ours that we can't really find a way to save. They're not cost savings. And one of them is our insurance. Our umbrella insurance has skyrocketed. And actually, many carriers have gotten out of the market. So we are sort of at the mercy.
Oh, sorry, Carrie.
That's okay. Okay. We are hard pressed, and we have good experience rating. We're not being canceled by carriers because of our experience rating. We are just at the mercy of carriers who are still willing to cover customers in the waste industry. And then, in terms of labor, our guys are Teamsters, so their wages go up annually. And their benefits they get great benefits for them. And it's something I'm really proud of. They make a good family wage and they have great benefits that cover not only themselves, but their families as well. That has gone up. And then in terms of, Aaron, I loved you talking about the new equipment, because the new equipment is kind of a double-edged sword. So we have been buying new trucks like crazy. And what that has done is, you're right, Aaron, in terms of the dollars and cents, which shows up on the DCR, is now all of those are depreciating, because our old fleet that they had depreciated out years and years ago. But the good news also is that it's going to eventually even out, because our productivity is increasing. These are automated trucks. We're going faster. We actually have 5 fewer drivers than we had 5 years ago. So it's kind of causing pressure now, but also I think there's a way for that to kind of equal out a ways. And then lastly, for us, Intel and Nike layoffs have really impacted our route, and we don't have a lot of commercial. The geography of the franchise is we have mostly residential. And when a great bunch of those people move out of the area all at once, that was really crazy. I let my 2 customer service people have the same day off not long ago. Well, right after Intel mentioned their layoffs. And by 10 in the morning, I had taken like 8 stop service calls that gave Austin, Texas as their forwarding address. And so I said, okay, now I just got to ask you, what is going on? And they said, we're going to work for other tech companies and we're moving to Austin. Also for geography, if you are of a place, I know this kind of is a real dichotomy, but if you have areas that are heavy on rentals, the bad debt is higher. And bad debt, even though, we have, I just put them in while I was talking to you. I have 13 new households that are going on reduced rate for this month. But interestingly, even with that being available, my bad debt is going up as well. So anyway, those are just some things I kind of wanted to throw out there. Things that, the use of AI, and we are getting tablets in our trucks. We have a lot of that. We are utilizing that technology as best we can. Unfortunately, those things don't happen in areas that impact the bottom line hugely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, that's all I got.
That's very helpful. It's insightful. We don't live and breathe this the same way that you guys do. So getting your perspectives is definitely very helpful for us, increasing our knowledge of your operations. So thank you, Carrie, and I think it was Richard, right?
We have one other hand also. I have Dave's iPhone. So I think I know who this is, but I will go ahead and allow them to speak. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Aaron. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, yeah. Good evening, crack members. And you're right, Aaron. It's me, Dave Huber. I'm with Waste Management, also known as WM. I am WM's public sector manager, and I oversee all of our jurisdictions here in the region. But I am a happy Washington County resident, and I also oversaw our operations in Forest Grove and the hauling operations that we have in Aloha as well that serves Washington County customers. So I wanted to just kind of provide a little bit of context to your question. I think, Elizabeth, you had a great question, about what are we doing, as haulers to ensure we're running as efficiently as possible. And I will say, you know, um, for us, and I'm sure goes for a lot of the other haulers too, but we're always looking for opportunities to run more efficiently. It's not uncommon that we perform what we call reroutes on a yearly basis. With the growth that we've had in Washington County over the last many years, there's always opportunities to look at and see how we can improve our efficiencies, perform reroutes on the garbage routes, recycle routes, the glass routes, in the yard compost routes, all of them, and as well as the commercial routes. So we're always looking at those opportunities. I think the last major reroute we did for commercial was last year, but we're always looking at that as an opportunity to improve our efficiencies and make us run as lean as possible. Something else that we do, and again, this I probably should have mentioned first, is safety. Safety is one of our core values. Safety is something that we take very seriously, of course, and the drivers leave every morning with a safety nugget, a safety topic, whether it's watching for kids when they're backing up in cul-de-sacs, counting heads, or proper following distance out on the main thoroughfares. It's always something that we're talking about, and it's part of our culture. We believe, if we run safe, we're obviously taking care of our employees, we're taking care of our community members, and that drives costs down low. I mean, that will keep costs low because we look at two safety components, and I don't want to bore you with the details, but one's called total recordable injury rate, TRIR, and the other one is our hourly accident rate report, HAR. So the first one, TRIR, is injuries. How many injuries have we had in the year's period? The drivers really, they know this, and that's something that we talk about a lot, as well as our hourly accident rate report. And I will say, our Washington County operations, we're one of the leaders within our company, within Waste Management here in the Pacific Northwest. Washington County is always one of the top sites in terms of the best TRIR and the best HAR score, which means the best hours between accidents. The longer, the higher the score, the better, I guess. So those are some things just to kind of help you answer, what are we doing to always look for improvements. And AI, of course, we have touched on that with our call center. And so when customers call in, that is part of the functionality of those calls, the inbound calls. But once customers, depending on what they need, they will and they can eventually get to a live agent, just depending on what service they need, or if they need to cancel service or set up new service, etc. I think that's really all I can think of off the top of my head, but I just thought I would add that context. Appreciate everybody's time on this topic, and certainly can one other thing I wanted to mention really quick is our morning launches. If you come to and you're more than welcome, any of you are welcome to come to our morning launches We have the one in Forest Grove, we have the one in Aloha. The one in Forest Grove is probably more impressive because you get to see about 65 trucks leave the yard in the morning, and it's all scripted. Within less than 20 minutes, the drivers have clocked in, done a thorough pre-trip inspection on the truck, and have gotten their safety message for the morning, and they're all leaving the yard in unison. It's like synchronized swimming. If you like synchronized swimming in the Olympics, it's pretty fascinating. So I encourage any of you, if you would like to do that, be more than happy to show you that. You just have to get up early in the morning. So
Very good. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that offer.
yeah.
All right. Any other questions or discussion items from the committee? Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. I was just noticing in reviewing attachment A that Aaron had prepared about the analysis that was done on the urban rural service rate assessment. In the first paragraph or for staff recommendation on the last page, there was the start, I think, of a good recommendation related to doing like a multi-year or continuing kind of what Marina and McCoy had done with the, or Marina Company had done with the urban rural, to look more at the RMA and the impact of that. And I think some of these questions that Brian has brought up and maybe some of the rate structures that Sandra have brought up could be incorporated into that as a recommendation to the board that, yeah, we would like to look at that and see, we think there's maybe a better way to do it, and we'd like to have some analysis kind of what the options are, and maybe the board would support that also, because I know they did have some concern a year ago about how things were going. So I think maybe we could do a recommendation to, and I would say let's approve the recommendation. I'm not sure if this is a motion, but approve the staff recommendation, but add on the piece about let's look longer term at doing some analysis and seeing how we can not somehow get off the crazy cycle a little bit, and maybe look at a direction that gets us more consistent and stable where we're going.
Thanks, Rich. That's a good question, Aaron. Would we need a separate motion for that, or how do we facilitate that? You're on mute.
My apologies. I have a lot of background noise this evening with my
No worries.
four-legged companions. We do need a motion and a second to proceed to a vote. If everybody is ready, you can do that. And then if there's any additional recommendations, I would say you might want to talk through those in advance of the vote. I don't know the point of order actually on that. If you want to do recommendations, additional recommendations, or if you want to vote, see where everybody lands, and then we carry forward any additional recommendations you have.
Go ahead, Vinod.
Rich, do you want to restate your motion so that we can second it, or not? Or
I'm not sure if we're ready for that, as
okay.
was just mentioned, but maybe I don't know if we want to individually kind of say where we're at, or if, but I guess I would say where I'm at. I'm kind of like approve the staff recommendation, forward that to the board, but also add the caveat that we would like to see some analysis and some funding support to look at some of these questions that have been brought up.
Go ahead, Brian.
I appreciate the discussion. I can support the motion, but it does have to have a recommendation for a broader modernization and long-term strategic review, and a commitment, like, that is our recommendation to the board that we need to have this. I don't think we have to get that detailed into that piece, at least for me. But I'm not going to vote yes for something that just blindly approves it. I think we have to have this a strong recommendation to the board for this modernization and long-term strategic review of the entire system.
Thanks, Brian. I would lean that way myself. given the fact that rates have gone up 29% over 5 years and we're bringing them up again, I would like to see what we can do from a system standpoint to try and stabilize. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I can support that as well. I just don't want it to be, a $500,000 effort.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, there has to be some efficiency in the review as well. So we don't have some giant contract that just costs way too much money for its purpose. But in general, yes, and I support the rate increases as outlined.
I wish we had a
But
$500,000 budget.
yeah, exactly.
We have about a $50,000 or less budget. So certainly, level set some expectations. But when we can partner with other local governments and there is an interest region-wide, that really, we appreciate your support because we made that recommendation last year in earnest. So to have your support again this year and be able to uplift that message once again to the board is really important. And so thank you. I do appreciate that.
Go ahead, Sandra.
I agree with all that, but I also want to make sure that the residential rate structure is reviewed and when you meet with the other regions, see why they have such a more balanced rates compared to our small $2.50 increase from one to another, the 20 to the 35, while others have $6, $7. I think that's more fair and equitable, but maybe they have a larger base rate. I don't know what they do, but we should everybody should be on the same page on that. But I don't know. It just seems so complicated. Everything's like, well, 30% of this, and you have to consider this and that and the other. It's like, well, just make a base rate and go from there, and just make something like that. Thanks.
Sure. All right. Any other questions or discussion items from the committee? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So Erin, I think we should open it up one more time to the community before we discuss our path forward.
Okay, it looks like we have Carrie Walker.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Thank you. Sorry, you guys, I keep thinking about one more thing, but one thing about the 20-gallon to the 35-gallon is we don't have two carts. There's such a small difference between the 20 and the 35 that we purchase 35-gallon carts and an insert that then goes in that 35-gallon cart to restrict the capacity to 20 gallons. And then, but I will tell you that when we are starting a new customer, we really try to get in some detail with them that really it's about 1.5 white kitchen bags a week that's going to go in that 20-gallon cart. So that unless you're a single person or somebody who travels for work a lot, we don't have a lot of people in that 20-gallon capacity because it's just not much garbage. Now, and then it's really basically one more kitchen bag that makes up the capacity difference between the 20-gallon and the 35-gallon, where then the next step up is almost double the 35 to the 60. And then again, the 60 to the 90 is another like 1/3 capacity. So I think that's why we see the bigger changes in those rates, because it's really one kitchen bag capacity difference between a 20-gallon and a 35. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. All right. Anyone else from the community that would like to speak?
I see no hands.
Okay. So I think I'm hearing two different recommendations. One would be the overall look at how we control the costs of the system. And then the second one would be, Sandra, I don't know if you want to have the rate structure examined for all of them, or really just the difference between the 20 and the 35 and the fact that one is 50% larger and it's only $2 more.
I like all of them.
Okay. All right. So that would be the second recommendation. So what probably makes sense is maybe, Aaron, if this is okay, we vote on the recommendations individually and then we vote on the rate increase.
Yes, I think, yes, hold on. Let me add a couple tabs to my tracker here
Okay.
so I can keep us organized.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I also just want to level set that I think system controls and that we're already taking those steps and we can continue that work and already have some special projects planned for this year that will lean into that. The actual variation in the can cart sizes, to make an adjustment to that, we really would need a can cart weight study, with the weight being the basis of all those variations. We don't have that built into our budget for this year, and we just got our budget for next fiscal year approved, and we don't have it built in. So I just want to level set realistic expectations that we can, of course, talk to our counterparts, maybe see if there's a root cause, or for some variation, we can task Marina. They work in multiple jurisdictions to take a look at that for us. But to actually get what the analysis that I feel we need as the rate SME, subject matter expert here at the county, that study is really critical to that. And so I just, again, I want to level set expectations before we move any recommendations forward to the board, that it could still be a minute before we can do some of those things.
Yep. Do you have a ballpark estimate of how much that study would cost, just so that people understand that when they're voting on this? No.
I think the last time it was done in 2018, it was over $100,000. So, but that was shared cost. So yeah, it just depends on 2026 or 2027 dollars, and that looks very differently than 2018 did. But if we can leverage someone like Portland State University and their capacity, it could cost less. So, okay. So the first recommendation, if someone wants to state it, then I can capture it for the record.
You want to go first? Richard, do you mind stating your recommendation?
I think it comes off that paragraph on the staff recommendation under attachment 2, the first paragraph. Let me see if I can read it. I don't know if people have it in front of them. So it says, acknowledging that the Recycling Modernization Act is bringing significant changes to the system in 2025. Staff recommended conducting a holistic assessment over several years. This process could be supported by contracting an economist, by leveraging new data from special projects like an updated can cart weight or en route time study, and by giving RMA time to mature. A more comprehensive assessment could be conducted to determine the overall health of the system with board direction and if budgetary authority were granted. Staff still believe that allocating funding for such projects would support a fuller picture of the system's health. So perhaps what is already in the budget plan captures some of that. I'm not sure if it captures, I think what I got from Brian was modernization and strategic planning for the whole system. So I'm not sure if any of that resonates with folks, and maybe some of that's already on the budgeted projects for the coming fiscal year.
So I could incorporate that recommendation, underscoring the fact that a focus on modernization and hold on. I don't want to put words in your all's mouth. So
Brian, would that meet what you're looking for?
I want to make a recommendation to the board that it needs to be prioritized. and that an advisory be attached to the recommendation that the system is showing, the overall system is showing signs of unsustainability. I think that is our job, to alert our board that the overall system, even though we all are going to have to approve these rates because we can't let the system collapse and garbage pile up. But if we don't sound this alarm, we're not doing our job, in my opinion. So that would be my motion. I can make that motion if you want.
Please do.
I make a motion to attach to the recommendation of rate increase that a prioritization be emphasized based on staff recommendation due to the nature of the overall system showing signs of overhaul, needing overhaul.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thanks, Sandra.
Okay, I will get the exact language from this recording, and you all wanted to vote on that. So I have Brian with the motion. I have Sandra with the second. And I'll start at the top. Elizabeth.
Yes.
Sandra.
Yes.
Brian.
Aye.
Christy.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
And Vinod.
Supportive.
Okay. Captured.
Thanks, Aaron.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the rate recommendation as given by the state with the amendment that we just passed.
Before we do that, Brian, I would like us to talk about the rate structure that.
Oh, we forgot something. Sorry, I withdraw my
Yeah.
motion.
Sandra, would you like to put that forward?
I just wanted to get the ball rolling and create awareness of what I feel is an unfair structure. It sounds like it's not going to be something that's going to be feasible to even have a study done for a while, but at least it brings attention to it. And maybe the next time you guys have the regional meeting, y'all discuss different cities and counties and whatever, discuss, maybe look and see how they do it, get some ideas, and bring it back to the table for further discussion.
All right, that works for me. Anyone else want to discuss anything in that space? Okay. All right. Brian, if you'd like to go again.
Well, I'd like to make a motion based on Sandra, right? Because I think we should do that as a motion. I think we should make a motion to attach a recommendation for a rate feasibility study when budgeting allows. I think that's what we need to attach to this rate recommendation.
Okay. Do you wanna? We're gonna vote. You need a motion and then vote.
I move to attach a second amendment to the rate review that requests a feasibility study be done at the earliest convenience.
I second it.
Got it. Okay, I'm gonna start at the top of the roll. Elizabeth.
Given the cost of it and the limited number of people that are in that 20-gallon space, I'm not supportive at this time, but I would be supportive of working with other jurisdictions to better understand why they have such a larger variance between the two.
Sandra,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Christy,
I share Elizabeth's concern about costs, and I think the staff will work on this issue regardless, but so I guess I'm a no on this one.
Leslie,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Vinod.
I share the concerns of Elizabeth and Christie, so I'd have to be a no, just a realistic viewpoint.
Okay, I am seeing 4-3, so that carries. I would move forward with that recommendation to the board.
All right. On to the topic at hand, the rate structure. If someone wants to make a motion, or I'm sorry, the rate recommendations.
I'll make a motion to adopt the rate recommendation as presented by staff with the 2 amendments we passed tonight.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that second.
It was Sandra.
Okay, thank you. Okay, top of the rolls again. Elizabeth,
Yes.
Sandra,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Christy,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
and Vinod.
Yes.
Okay, well, that motion carries as well. With that, I'll be working on that staff report to the board, wrapping that up early next week. I'll incorporate your recommendations and go back and make sure I capture that wording just as we discussed it this evening. And if anything else comes up, I just really appreciate all your time and attention to this matter for the county. This is probably the biggest topic we bring to GRAC on a regular basis. So it's great to have everybody's thought, time, input, and certainly glad to close this one out and looking forward to new projects that are already, in the works for next year because we're already there.
Great. Erin, thank you so much. I know that there's a lot of work on your side, and you provide us with a lot of materials that are very easy, in my opinion, to comprehend, and you're very responsive to the questions that come from the committee as well. So thank you for everything that you're doing in that space. And I just want to remind people, and Erin, correct me if I have these wrong, but this will go in front of the board at the working session on June 9th, and then the board meeting on June 23rd. So it might be something that you guys either want to watch or look at the replay just to see the discussion that the board is having in the space too. And I know Erin and Rusty will bring that back to us, but getting it firsthand can be helpful as well.
Correct. Both will be available on the YouTube channel, and they actually do allow for in-person attendance at both of them, but the work session is typically more closed. The other meeting is public. It is an evening meeting, just to note. Typically they're meeting during the day, but that cadence in the month, that's their evening meeting that we'll be seeking approval.
And I see Rusty has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the committee tonight for the dialogue and for the thought and the effort that you put into rates. And like Erin said, this is a major lift for our division and specifically for Erin and her staff. And but it's also a major lift for you all. Everyone works a job and does this on their own time. So I want you to know that we appreciate it. And we really appreciate the conversation and the ideas that you put forth here. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll adjourn. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.